My name is Camila, and I'm the managing director of Untried, where we use AI to create what I call an internal brain for companies. We remove information silos and make the knowledge, internal knowledge, accessible for everybody in the company. Something similar to what Google did, but for external knowledge. I personally believe that AI will be the defining technology of our time. And the funny thing is that it's not new. In fact, it's been around since the 50s. But only in the recent years, the massive improvements in processing powers, storage systems, and analytical techniques made it more accessible for more companies and organizations to work on. And we are seeing massive improvements massive and tangible usefulness within the day-to-day lives of many different people, starting from digital assistants to transportation, so getting your Uber driver nearby, or robots, those who are cleaning your floors at home, to AI-powered drones, which deliver blood to most remote places around the globe. That's why on today's talk, I will demonstrate, or at least I will try to help you understand why I think we should focus many more of our efforts and resources to build and design a better AI. For those just getting familiar with what artificial intelligence is, the AI is basically it's computer algorithm, and it's a set of rules, but it's a set of algorithms designed to make decisions, often using real-time data. So it can use sensors, digital data, or remote inputs, and it combines information available from many different sources, and it can analyze it and this material instantly and act on those insights derived from this data. As you can see from this paradigm, there are many different disciplines and applications of AI. Some of them are probably familiar to you. So AI neural networks. So they can be used for generating lifelike voice, or deepfakes, which are becoming more and more popular among mass media. But there are also computer vision systems present in famous self-driving cars. But I will focus on AI around text and unstructured data, since this is my domain. To get things straight, not everything needs AI, and not everything can be solved with AI. When looking for a good use case for AI, the good rule of thumb is finding the workflows and tasks where you have abundance of data and you follow some kind of logical process. AI is a perfect tool to do that, since in contrast to traditional programming, where you have to give all the detailed instructions to the computer to execute, AI helps you find the patterns and insights from the data you serve it almost automatically. And I cannot click, sorry. Okay, so for example, you want the AI to spot all the cats in the pictures. So to teach the algorithm, you give it examples. So you give it a lot of different pictures with cats and not cats. So it will soon start finding the patterns, and it will help you. It will start presenting you the pictures, or like the answers. This is a cat, or this is not a cat. Unfortunately, it won't tell you that it's a dog or a mouse deer. For that, you will need another data set. So you get the idea. it can AI can help you with lots of different cases. It can help you reach higher revenues or lower costs, and it can increase your productivity. Okay, maybe knowing how many cats or not cats is on the picture, it's not great to monetize, but you get the idea. Cat jokes aside, haha, haha. People use technology to solve problems of our own nature and our own human limitations. And since AI is a promise to increase our speed, effectiveness, and accuracy, it's a lot of things start becoming possible with it, because we cannot possibly grasp all the data available within the organization, within the data set you are trying to work on. That's not how our brains work. That's how computers work. So surprise, surprise, data is overwhelming. In 1954, psychologist George A. Miller analyzed that human brain can handle only so much before it becomes overloaded. Hear me out. Companies holding meetings longer than 1 hour. In fact, most people can only handle 7 to plus minus chunks of information at the same time. And probably you've heard of paradox of choice. Sounds familiar? Looks familiar. Another psychologist, Barry Schwartz, proved that having more options to choose from actually increases our anxiety, and it makes us unable to make a decision. So in the end, we become paralyzed, intimidated, and overwhelmed by the sheer amount of data. And when you are attempting to consume too many metrics, dimensions, charts, reports, and so on at the same time, you become paralyzed and you end up with no decision at all. So, like I said, it's the exact case, the exact use case for the AI, because it can handle lots of different data and it can find patterns. So if less is more, we are certainly our own worst enemies when it comes to creating data, sharing it, and consumption. And I'm sure it sounds familiar when you have in the company, you have so many KPIs which are urgent and they have to be done by yesterday. In the end, everything is urgent, and at the same time, nothing is urgent. So nothing really is a priority. So when you are using AI in such case, it can help you screen lots of different data from different data sources, siloed sources, and it can find you the relevant data for exactly what you are looking for. And if you are still thinking, and if you are still debating if AI is a good choice for you, think of all the biases. Many researchers have highlighted how judges' decisions can be unconsciously influenced by their characteristics and by their own personality. And I'm sure you've heard of those cases where employers had the exact same CVs presented, but one of the CV had name which sounded more from different racial group. So in the end, the other person was getting selected. And unfortunately, we humans are complex creatures. So human decisions are also very difficult to review. Sometimes we don't know. Unconsciously, we hold the bias, or we lie about why we chose something over something else. So it makes it very difficult to understand the thinking process. AI, on the contrary, can help reduce this bias because it looks at the exact data it has to look at. Well, technically, it can also reinforce bias, but we'll talk about it a bit later. So AI can help reduce humans' interpretation of data because machine learning algorithms learn to consider only the variables and that improve their predictive accuracy. So, for example, if you are looking for a candidate with a particular skill set, it will focus only on that. It will ignore everything else which is irrelevant, such as gender, age, or name. In the end, AI can make the whole process more fair, as it helps you improve decision making. And this is something which we should strive for, especially in the public sector, because AI is a promise for public sector to improve our safety and fairness. AI is a great use case for crime prevention and a fairer criminal justice system, as massive data sets can be processed faster, and prisoner flights risks assessed more accurately. Crime or even terrorist attacks can be prevented because we can analyze much more data in a shorter period of time. And if you want the proof, this is a diagram from Home Office from BBC sources, where the crimes number, where solved crimes number in the recent years, unfortunately, the rates of charging the criminals has been falling, and the reason for that are various. So in almost half of the cases, no suspect has been identified. And while technology cannot help with all the problems such cases present, for example, when victim does not want to collaborate, that in this case, it accounted for 20% of cases. In almost 1 in 10, there are other problems created related to evidence or analyzing the evidence. And in such cases, in such area, AI can help with great impact. In fact, police officers admit that if they were more able to effectively understand and process the large number of data, more crimes could be solved. Because crime investigations are expensive and time-consuming, and in resource-poor cities, you cannot possibly have less people solve more cases, because a day has only 24 hours. The cool thing with AI is that it can find the patterns in those payload data, and as you can imagine, in case of police, there are lots of different systems, and many of them are not related, or there is no visible connection. But AI can understand and find the pattern within those sources and find the links in areas where people previously did not look for. Another cool example of using AI in public space is the project summoned by Save the Children for the children abuse in online sphere. So for those unfamiliar with children, so Save the Children, this is a humanitarian organization that aims to improve the lives of children across the globe. And they work in line with UN sustainability goals to end abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of violence and torture against children. So guys from Save the Children and Omdina, the other organization, had this cool idea to collaborate and use AI to identify and prevent online internet violence against children for their safety. So they used numerous data sources and they did combination of various artificial intelligence techniques, such as natural language processing for the sentiment analysis, and they built the web scrapers to collect parent and child reviews of the games, applications, websites, and all the other popular resources that children go for. And by using NLP, the natural language processing, they could spot those reviews which were considered risky or very, very, very negative for the people. So the parents could take a closer look and have more attention towards those areas or like resources. Another cool example is healthcare. The guys from Hospital de Montpellier in France, pardon my French, used AI to analyze patient data. So they try to increase or like better manage the patient's visits and the diagnosis. So the system basically reviews the structured and unstructured data. And it pulls all the medical records and doctor notes. By the way, Nobel Prizes prize for whoever managed to decipher hieroglyphs. And it basically creates a comprehensive health portrait of the patient. So that allows for faster diagnosis and more effective treatment. By now, you get the idea that AI is very useful for cases in the public sector, but it's equally useful for businesses and private enterprises. It can, for example, in case of warehouses and production factories on the factory floors, it can prevent accidents by using computer vision. In this case, this is a neural network. It's not unstructured data as such, but it can prevent the potential it can prevent accidents happening by using computer vision to scan thousands of videos from floors for potential risks, and then it can serve the information to improve safety, to give some recommendations. Or the other case is customer service centers, where AI is used to help those customer representatives to find the most relevant information for the question which was asked by the customer. So it frees the customer representative to work on more complex issues. And you are probably seeing pattern here. These are all the cases where it kind of follows some logical process. And this is something which computers are perfect to take over from us. And this is something which will help us eventually focus on more creative and more satisfying use cases and tasks. So it's already possible for AI to gather information, but what we haven't really tackled, what we haven't figured out, is how to use AI to augment the collective power, collective wisdom of the groups. Imagine being able to access all the data held in people's minds, in people's brains. And I'm not talking about this futuristic, slightly worrying visions of connecting the human brain with, and syncing it into the cloud. I'm observing Neuralink and kernel from far. What I'm just saying is that majority of this information is already stored somewhere, probably in the digital form, and unfortunately it's in silos. So it's almost as if it didn't exist in the first place. We store lots of our know-how, knowledge in silos, whether it's in emails, ticketing systems, reports, or notes, and millions versions of the same files makes it difficult for you to find the information which you are looking for. So in the end, you are basically reinventing the wheel. So it's been a very well known case where lots of where the group of people come together to solve a problem, they become more than than the sum of their parts. The wisdom of the crowd has been well known in the ancient Greece, when Aristotle noted that many unremarkable men often made better collective judgments than great individuals. So if we are taking it into a scenario of a typical large company, when you start weighting in the knowledge and know-how available from different people from different divisions, different branches, then you can create some kind of feedback loop, since you can all learn from each other. And the cool thing with AI is that you can learn and you can adjust and you can perfect the accuracy of the results with the data, with the input you are giving it. So it's constantly learning. So why now, and why it's a big deal right now? Well, you probably have experienced some of the challenges with remote working. So with all this glory and probably it's not the right. Sorry, I lost my slide. So in case of remote working, with all its glory and coziness, the remote working itself presents a lot of challenges. It's easy to store data but hard to exchange information in the group make it in an effective way. We are finding it difficult to find patterns, and most of our work is just reinventing the wheel. Okay, let's assume you found a way to collect all this information, all this process, and find a good way to understand all the resources, all the information you have within the company. Then the next step is to understand how can you make the system fair, and how can you make it unbiased. This is a whole new and whole separate sphere of ethical AI and explainable AI, which I don't really have time here to explain, but I'm happy to do in private. But the most important things, or the most important questions you should be asking when looking for such a system, when trying to design such AI system within your own company, is how you are going to regulate it, how you are going to create ethical boundaries and create safety nets. You should be asking questions, for example, how should we promote data access? How do we guard against bias or unfair data used in algorithms? And what types of ethical principles are introduced through software programming? And how transparent should designers be about their choices? Because if you are not diligent enough, AI can present huge threat to the democracy and many other different spheres. In case of politics, AI was already blamed for creating echo chambers based on person's previous online behavior, displaying only content a person would like, instead of creating a whole pluralistic and like equally accessible and inclusive for public debate. So ever wondered why social media displays only the content you like and you agree with? It basically further reinforces and polarizes your views and beliefs. AI can also be used to create extremely realistic fake video, audio, and other media known in the recent years, also popularized by mass media as deep fakes. And that can create financial risks. It can harm reputation, and it can also challenge decision making. All of this can lead to further polarization and separation in the public sphere. What we have to always remember is that AI comes from humans, from us, like all the technology. And like all technology, AI is just an echo of the wishes of whoever made it. Since we design it, we build it, and we test it, we need to create safety nets for it. We need to create the right sets and right standards for handling data, exchanging information, and skills. And we need to spot and remove biases as soon as we see them. We need also more diversity. And right now, AI is not very various. In fact, 90% of the AI researchers are male. So what we could do best is to encourage more women into computer science and AI research. We should be concentrating more on teaching those soft skills at school, since these are going to be making more employable, making people more employable in a world dominated by AI. In conclusion, it's simple. Use AI. No, but in conclusion, like the discovery of electricity, or the development yes, and the development of the steam machine, I believe AI will have, in conclusion, like the discovery of electricity or development of a steam engine, I believe AI will be the next revolution. Actually, it already is, because it fundamentally can transform people's lives. It can transform industry, and it can transform society. That's why I'm very optimistic about the future, because I think it will create more, as it advances, it will create more good than the challenges it presents. Thank you.